Hi, my name is Phil Huebner, and I'm the campus pastor at Wisconsin Lutheran High School.
Hello, I am CEO Whiteside, assistant principal.
This is the second in a series of videos that we're shooting at Wisconsin Lutheran High School. Not too long ago, one of our conference churches and grade schools, St. Marcus Lutheran Church, hosted a conversation on the topic of George Floyd and advancing the conversation on race. It was very well received, and many of our students and other faculty members saw it, and they wanted to do something similar. They wanted to make a difference. They wanted to have their voices heard. So this is the second of 4 videos that we're filming at the high school to give an opportunity to have our students let their voices be heard. The purpose of the video is simply to talk, to advance the conversation, to have Christian-loving conversations where we listen to each other, where we learn, but also to give an opportunity for people out there in the world to watch this video and to listen and learn as well. So with that, let's get the conversation started.
So with everything that's been going on, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, protests and riots, how have you been feeling? How have you been dealing with all of these different things?
So I feel like it's a little bit confusing for me because I've seen like 2 different sides of the spectrum. So I've been around white conservatives who think that violence is not okay and it's just making everything worse. And then I've been around people who think that the violence is really the only reason that this whole thing has been making headlines and people are starting to care. So I feel like it's just hard to know who to listen to and what to believe.
It made me feel kind of mad because it's something that's always reoccurring. Through over the years, it's something that's always reoccurring. And then when I watched the video, it made me feel like blank to the point to where it's what do you do about that? Because it happens so much, and it just made me think. It just made me think a lot of things when it happened.
Honestly, I feel like all of it is really just ridiculous. Everybody knows of the big cases like George Floyd that's happening right now. But I just want people to know he's not the only person. There's so many people that this happens to. And yes, the violence is, in my point of view, not unnecessary, but if we feel like violence is the only way to be heard, I feel like that's just really not okay.
I feel like people are tired, people are not being heard, and I went to a protest actually, and I understood kind of more of what people are really protesting about. It's really just the overall look on what's really going on with Black lives, and I feel like with the rioting and looting, I feel like it's just a cry for help. It's just people are tired of just the injustice, and it led to just being, at least when you are on the headlines, people understand that things are happening that's not right. And with George Floyd, it brought out all other names, other stories, other situations that happen with cops or whatever, where people are now learning more and more, where I see names I never heard of, but it brought this to attention, it brought other things to attention to the point where it's okay, we have to try to do something. I seen companies come out, I seen people posting more Black-owned businesses. It is working and advertising well, in my opinion.
So for me personally, at first, when the video was released and it all came out, a lot of frustration and anger, because I feel with the whole Black Lives Matter movement, we just went all over it. We talked about this in 2016 a lot with Colin Kaepernick, and felt it was a whole, repeat situation. And I think that's a testament to it being this is a 400-year issue, and clearly it's not going to get fixed over a short period of time. So, but now recently, there's been a good lot of conversations that have come out, and I think that is the positive from all of this, is that obviously us right here, we're having good conversations as Christians, looking over the problem.
So I want to piggyback on that then. Among your friend groups, or maybe even your families, what kind of conversations have you all been having?
I'm gonna be honest, with some things, it's been a lot of ignorance in my opinion. With classmates, I feel like when it comes to situations like this, the thing I just want is an understanding. Even though I might not view what you think, I feel like when you come to just understanding that I think this way, you think that way, that's it. And as long as you listen or just try to figure out from my point of view what I'm saying and just acknowledge that point. And I feel like that's what's losing a lot of conversations that I've had, where it's you're not even acknowledging what I'm saying, you just want to be right. And I feel like that's when it comes to kind of a conflict that I've had conversations with. But when it comes to me and my friend group, it's we're tired, we're just over it, it's just too much, because it's like, that could have been one of my brothers. I have 5 brothers, I'm the only girl. So in my opinion, I feel hurt that this happened, because it could have been one of my family members, my uncles, anybody, because I'm like really the only girl in my family. So that's kind of conversations I had where it's like, it's affecting me in that way.
I had this conversation with my teammates, my football teammates, every time we go to have captain practices and stuff. We talk about this before we work out, and we talk about how that it's not right at all and how it happens, and we give both sides of, like, I give my side of how I feel about it, and they ask me more questions about it. They never assume anything of, well, why is it like this or why is it like that. They just listen to my point and how I feel about it. And it's like a middle there to where my teammates know, they just know where I'm coming from on it. They don't know how I feel, but they know where I'm coming from on it when I speak my point of view of how I don't like certain things, and I respect them for that.
Me personally, I kind of feel like it's my responsibility as going to like Wisco. For like my family, I'm the most educated person like on this topic. So one of the things I've mainly been talking about is like how to balance like what people call white guilt versus like having empathy like for someone. Is that, well, obviously I can never know what a black male like goes through, and I can't put myself in that mindset. But what I can do is like, we need to be more understanding and be open like in conversations, and just, it's really, for white people, it's all about listening and getting educated on the topic. It's not about winning an argument or even getting into an argument. It's all about having good conversations about stuff.
What experiences have you had that make you feel a little more comfortable or a little more educated on the issue, or be like, oh, because of this, I have a little more knowledge on this than possibly some of your family members?
Well, for me, playing basketball is kind of a great thing, because at our school, at least, it's not exactly 50-50. There's more black people in basketball than there are white. So I get, a lot of good friends from that. And then being on the civil rights trip, you get 32 students or whatever the number is to go on that. But that's also, it's a blessing and a curse, because, I'm educated, and so are the people like on this panel here. We all like know about the topic and we're open and we can talk about it. But there's also 800 other students in the school that, aren't on it, and they can't, they're afraid to like come out and have conversations.
I feel that coming from a white family, it's clear to see how little people know about the issue, and especially like those in the older generations. And they just don't understand the importance and the seriousness of what's going on right now. And that's why I have a lot of hope for the younger generations, because they have been more united and diverse than ever before.
Very true.
Going back to what Najaya was talking about, the ignorance, like on Snapchat, I'll post something and somebody else slide up and try to argue with me, or this one person told me like, you don't really know what you're talking about, like you don't experience this was your ancestors. And I'm like, well, actually it's my grandma, my grandparents, like this issue has been ongoing for a long time. So I think, like I know a lot going on is that a lot of people don't know what to say or how to say it. So I feel like I'm a person that they could talk to about it, especially if they come to me with like respect and actually want to hear what I have to say.
I was definitely gonna ask you too, like when you had those disagreements, are they in social media or are they in person? So usually you get a better result in person?
I haven't talked to anybody that's like slid up in person. It's really just on social media.
Okay.
And kind of going off with that, just to give an example, like I seen a post about whatever somebody else posted, and I kind of reposted it, and it just kind of was like, this is not okay. Like open your eyes and see what's going on. And she kind of slid up with just not a very smart remark about it, and I felt like when it came to that conversation, it became an argument where that's not where it had to be. I just want you to understand what that post, what you said on Snapchat, and what everybody can see is not what's really smart to post. Just because if I'm giving you what my opinion is and my like understanding of everything, then I feel like you should just at least just listen and just understand that what I'm saying to you is like, it's not out of spite. It's not because I just think that you yourself is not a good person. I'm saying that the post that you did, I just didn't agree with it, and I just want you to listen, because like we two different colors, two different backgrounds. But I just feel like that's kind of where the balance wasn't right, where it just went bad, in my opinion. Mm-hmm.
It seems to me like when something tragic happens and things are forced into the headlines, it kind of forces conversations to take place, right? Because it's out there in front of us all. But what that does then is it also kind of exposes what a lot of people experience on an everyday basis, but maybe no one would know about. So that leads to my next question. I'm going to start with Kayla and Manny and Najaya on this one, for obvious reasons. What would be your personal experiences with racism? Because there are some who would say, kind of like Kayla was saying, well, this was just in the past and this doesn't happen anymore. If you're comfortable with sharing any personal stories or something that's happened to you personally, what are some of your experiences with racism in your life?
Well, something that happens to me pretty often. It's not nothing that gets left in the past. It's something that always happens recurrently. Is when, let's say I would go into a store that's, maybe expensive. Maybe you have to pay a little bit more than you would usually have if you were to go into a different store. And I would grab something that I liked, whatever I liked, maybe put an outfit together in the store, and maybe somebody that works there asks me, well, let's try something else. Do you think you can get this? Or, this might be more suitable for you, but that's not suitable for me because I obviously picked what I liked and what I wanted to wear whenever I choose to wear it. So when they say that type of stuff and it's always happening, I kind of just turn away from it because I know myself and I know how things could turn out if I get deeper into conversations with people that, ask me those type of questions. So I just look by it and get whatever I got to get, then I go on my way.
A couple times this has happened actually. I've been with my mom and we've gone to a store that was closing and being followed around by a security guard like we were gonna steal something is they don't know me. They don't know how much money I have or how much money my family has. So to them to just stereotype me and play us off as people that are just gonna steal is crazy.
One time I went into the gas station with my brother. We just moved to Glendale, so we're kind of new to the area. But when I was driving to the gas station, I realized this car was kind of following me in a way, and I didn't think much of it because it's only one road. We can only go one way, and so I was just thinking the house or whatever they're going to is down this road. But it came where I came to the gas station 2 blocks away, and the car was still there. When we got out the car and went to the gas station, we just getting some stuff. The man kind of followed us into the store, and I knew something was wrong. I felt it, my conscience felt it, he felt it, and we just continued just getting our stuff, and that's when the man kind of went up to us, and I was kind of, it was an old white man. I was kind of scared, but he really wasn't talking to me, he was talking to my brother, why are you in our neighborhood? And I was kind of like, what do you mean, why are we in the neighborhood? He was the man at the clerk at this thing was sir, you can step out. He wasn't really listening. My brother didn't really say anything back because he didn't want to become that person or video, or was just angry black man. And so we kind of just left. We put the stuff back and left, and he followed us to the car. And at this point, I'm like, okay. So at this point, when we were walking to the car, he's just yelling out racial slurs and pointed at my brother more than necessarily me. And so when we got back to the house, I told my mom, my dad, and it was kind of a conversation where it was tears and just all emotional, where it's I never thought I would experience that, and my brother kind of wanted to fight, but he couldn't. So it just became just an angry situation. I wish that never happened. But.
So a follow-up question for Lauren and for Nate. So you hear these stories. I know you hear plenty of other stories from your friends and your classmates. When you hear these kinds of things from people of color and what they experience, how does that make you feel as white students, as white people?
I mean, for me personally, obviously I'm frustrated and angry for stuff like that. But I can guarantee you, those people, in those examples, they don't think they're racist or that they're prejudiced or anything else. It's just, they don't even think about it. They just will say something or assume something like that. And so it's kind of having these conversations and stuff with people. We're trying to break down those prejudices that all black people are criminals or all white people are racist or all Mexicans are illegal. That's not how it is. That's not fair to assume of people and stuff like that. So we're fighting a enemy that a lot of people don't even know that they are racist or prejudiced.
Honestly, like my heart goes out to them because I don't experience the things that they experience, and I feel really bad about it, and I just like want to help. Like I want to know what I can do, but it's like unfortunate like that these things have to happen to them.
So one thing that I'd like to talk about, in the first video we didn't have an opportunity to talk about. You said, what are some things that we can do? Well, as you guys mentioned earlier, some things that have been going on are protests, and with that come things like, riots and other stuff. A lot of people have different viewpoints on that. So let's talk about just an open conversation with all of us here. What are the ups and downs that you guys see, or maybe have experienced, some of you, or hear about, for protests? What do they accomplish or not accomplish, and just everything that goes with it?
The protests during the day are very much more productive than the ones that happen at night, because I know the ones during the day are led by the NAACP. So the ones at night, they're actually like right by my house, where they just go around taking and stealing stuff. That's not productive. We're fitting into the stereotype that everybody already pinned us in to start with.
I feel like with the rioting, it's kind of in the black community, where you're destroying things that is black owned, and where black people are, that's your community, and that's kind of where I think it goes left, because it's not really putting on a good look. But I feel like also just looking at the other side, looking at if I was a protester in that situation, I feel like it's just at this point tiredness. They're not being heard. They don't know what else to do. And when the cops and everything block off going downtown, or block off going to Brookfield or wherever else where they want to go to, or try to make a statement there, it's not. So they tear down their own community. And I used to live over there too, so I know that there's older people who has to go to that Walgreens. It's not there no more. It's not available. And there's other businesses out there where it's like a coffee shop or things like that, where it's not there because of the looting and the rioting. And it looks bad when it's like your own community, and it's like the next day you go and you're like, everything's boarded up, there's nothing there, and it's not a community anymore. It's just abandoned buildings at that moment. And it's like, it's kind of like, why? But when I went to the protest, I understood kind of what their head is in, just looking from their point of view of just being tired. And I just feel like that's the ending result of the rioting. They're just tired. They don't know what else to do.
I feel that these protests, the violent ones, are just like we're repeating our past mistakes as a nation. And I feel that the only way that we're going to make a change or difference is if that we make different decisions than we had like 100 years ago. And that being said, it's sad that our nation is so angry. Like the people are so upset that this is what they turn to. Like they don't know what else to do but violence. And their cry like needs to be heard, and we need to have actions that help these people.
I feel like the protests are very productive in a lot of ways, because it brings us together as a whole community. It doesn't like divide us, and like as if I was just to go out there and protest by myself, then it's not like I'm a one-man army just standing for a cause that everybody is. It brings us together as a whole community and makes us look like we're a family, to the point to where that we don't want to see anything happen to another human being, just in general at all. So when we see it happen, it just brings us to the point where it's like, what else can we do but come together and yell and shout what we feel in a lot of ways. So, but the riots and stuff like that, no, of course it's not a positive thing at all, but it's to the point to where it's like you get trapped in the corner and you don't know what else to do but to get your point out there. And when you can't get your point out there, you feel like your back is against the wall at that point.
I do think it is interesting, because if there wasn't any looting or rioting, how like big of a topic would it be out there? But also, like going off of that, I feel like it's also brought out a lot of arguments about, is it good to loot or riot or have a peaceful protest? And I feel like then people just miss the point of like what's really going on. Yep. But I think a good note coming out of the peaceful protest, like Kayla talked about happening during the day, like it's not just black people out there, it's a lot more white and black, and I think that's a good thing. That's way different than like how it ever has been.
Yeah, so can you describe like how was your protest that you went to? Was it black and white people? Where was it at? How did it go?
It was right on Port Washington, in Glendale, but honestly, it was more Hispanics. I've seen more Hispanics than white people, than black people. It was, I seen gang members too, where they were united though. It was, it's obvious they were gang members. They said it out loud, like, and they made an announcement like, we're coming together at this point because they're tired, we all tired. I feel like that it brung a little, I don't know, it just felt, I don't know the word. It felt together though. I was surprised that it was more Hispanics than anything though.
So you felt the unity.
Yeah, and then it was also more teenagers. I feel like ages between like 17, 25. It was more of that ages, and they were just out there, and it brought cops over there where they were looking. They didn't know, they can't, you know, they wasn't going to disrupt peaceful protests necessarily, but they were surrounding, and it was people that was kind of holding on to each other. They didn't, you know, just don't know what's going to happen next. And so it was united where even some guy came and covered me and my brother, because I had my little brother and my older brother, but they came and covered us just because they didn't know what else was going to happen. He was walking towards the cops, but they just let us walk peacefully by while we just, you know, yelling Black Lives Matter or whatever the chant was. But it just felt like unity. It was definitely more Hispanics though.
I don't think Najaya is fairly representing herself here, because this girl actually sent me a voicemail, a voice message from the protest, and this was one of the most happy voices I ever heard in a long time. She was so proud of herself and so happy to be there, and I was so proud of you too. I told my wife right away, I had her listen, that she's out there and she's doing something, so I'm proud of you for that. And that's going to lead to my next question for all the students here. What are things that you think teens can do? White, black, you know, whatever. What are things that you can do to make a difference right now? Right? We talked about some things, but you know, what can you do to make a difference?
Well, this is a really good example, just sitting down with each other and coming to an understanding, not wanting to argue, but actually sitting here and truly listening and trying to better yourself and educate yourself more is a good way to start.
I would say using your diverse friend group to your advantage to actually have those conversations sometimes, and just be able just to talk to each other, because you already know each other as friends, so you can have that conversation with each other just talking normally without having it kind of be little things like it's forced when you're in a classroom, maybe when you're in groups, but you actually just with people you're comfortable around, so you can just actually just have that conversation on daily.
Even social media is a good place to start, because that's taking over our world really quickly, and that's actually why I've been hearing a lot of the stuff that's been happening at. So just knowing that your voice matters and anything you post will help in the slightest way.
This right here, what we're doing right now, talking about it, this definitely is something that's a huge step, and I feel as that's going to progress us as teens and as people too, because, you know, we're the generation that's coming up next, and this is definitely something that's need to be talked about and need to be spoken and got out to the world. And social media is another thing that's definitely, you know, is where the information is mainly coming from about a lot of things. So if we can put a positive trend on social media instead of a negative trend and having arguments and things like that, I feel like we can make big progressions.
I think especially in our generations and in the generations to come, like white people are like going to be in the minority soon. So as we, you know, Wisco's a great example because we're such a diverse school that we have friends from other races and we can get to talk about this, but like soon that is how like the whole world is going to be. So it's all about us just having conversations, whether that's through social media or in person. It doesn't really matter because we're so like connected online. It's just good to get it out and talk about it anywhere.
One more thing is just to know that just because that the hashtag Black Lives Matter is trending right now, that everybody just needs to know that just when it becomes kind of faded away on social media, it's not over. It still happens. It's going to continue to happen. No matter if it's you see it more or not, it's still here. And I feel like just having that, just knowing that it's never going to go away, and that we're just going to have to continue to keep talking about it and keep figuring out things and just keep your knowledge to the point where it's like, okay, it has to be changed in this part of the hashtag.
I guess, and also if your friend group isn't diverse, like try to get the word out to like your friends like that don't understand like how big of a deal this is, because most people just don't get like the struggle that people across America are like facing.
Have you had any conversations with your white peers about this?
Yes, I'm friends with people from other schools who just don't get that diversity that I do at Wisco, so they don't really know what it's like. Well, I don't either, but like they don't get like what black people are going through. So I try to like work it into the conversation sometimes and just say like, just to try to get them to try to look past themselves and think about other people.
That's a very good point. Look past yourself.
So maybe, I mean, we're kind of onto this a little bit with some of the things that a number of you have said. How have you seen that this high school has been a blessing for your personal experience to grow and to learn? And we can talk about challenges of the high school too. We can go anywhere you want to go with this.
For me, it taught me how to deal with more people that's not the same skin tone as me. I came from St. Marcus, it's mostly black kids, so I didn't really deal with much of a white teenager, white kids my, age. So when I came to Wisco, it really showed me how to deal with just people in general, because in life, I'm not really gonna be with all black kids. And so it really taught me how to like, figure out like people other backgrounds and just where they come from. And St. Marcus was inner city, so we all inner city kids. We weren't really from like, I didn't know what New Berlin was until I came here. I didn't know what Brookfield was until I came here either. So it really just showed me other Milwaukee parts too. I didn't know what the Village was until I came here. I didn't know none of that was. I didn't know it existed. So when I came to Wisco, it really just opened my mind to other people backgrounds and just to know that we all not the same. St. Marcus, we all the same. So it's just a different experience here.
I think going to Wisco, like two things that are big is the diversity that's here. Like that's not just how the real world is, but that's also like how heaven's going to be, as like we're all Christians here. So that's something that people need to get to realize. It's not going to be all white, it's not going to be all black, like in the real world and in heaven. And also us all being Christians, like I hate when people talk about this as a political issue, because it's really not. Like this is a Christian issue, this is like a moral issue. Like we have people out there, like fellow Christians and people that we love, that are hurting and that are like afraid to walk outside, or like, afraid to be judged and like assumed of. And so like something I like to say and bring up in conversations is that like Jesus, like he was really like the first like civil rights leader, like if you want to say, going back to the story with the woman at the well. Not only that she was a woman, but also a Samaritan, and Jews and Samaritans, really hated each other, but he didn't care. Like he just loved that woman and he wanted her to be in heaven someday. So it really doesn't matter what skin colors or gender you are. Like we're all just here to like love one another.
Something that this school has definitely brought to me when I came here was the diversity, of course, but it was like something that really caught my eye was when I first came here, and it was the chapels where everybody was like together. There was like no sections off or stuff like that. It was everybody was sitting together and everybody was getting the same preaching out the Bible and getting the same gospel, and we were all getting the love of Jesus. So there was no diversity and, getting the same teachings and stuff. We were all together as one, and I feel like that's how it should always be in the community as well, because Jesus died for all of our sins. He just didn't die for mine or just for your sake. He died for everyone's sake, and I think that's something that this school definitely does. It teaches us that, and it teaches us to be whole as one and to get out of our comfort zones, especially just staying inside your ethnicity. It teaches you to go and learn what other people are about, and it definitely opens up the world a lot.
Kind of going off of what he was saying about like opening up the world, being here also helped me like prepare for the real world, because when you go in a workplace, you're not only going to be with white people, black people, Hispanic, whatever. So being here and talking to people and understanding like their different backgrounds really helps you on a professional level as well.
Wisco's been really cool experience for me, because I came from like an all-white grade school, so I really didn't have much experience with like diversity or anything. So it's been really cool to see, especially going on this civil rights trip, seeing people's like background and like where they come from and like what they stand for. And I think that a lot of people my age don't get that same experience, and like I really think it's a blessing from God.
So how does faith get you through these tough times, or just understanding and seeing the different injustices, and you getting different information spewed to you from the outside? How does your faith play a factor in this and helping you not necessarily just deal with it, but to continue to thrive as Christian young men and women?
As I was talking about before, like the ignorance of conversations that I've had with people on social media, really knowing God really helps you, like, I don't want to say bite your tongue, but it really just helps you to, like, know that God loves everybody, and the slightest thing that you could do to help somebody understand that, I don't want to call them wrong, but not right, but to help them understand that this is not how it should be is really helping.
Being humble was something that was taught at a young age by my mom and dad, and like it was a different type of humble towards something that you learn physically, you know, that you get taught mentally. But definitely when I got more into my life and I started praying more when I came here and did a lot of more stuff like that, it was a whole different type of like humble that I seen and that opened up for me. It was the humble of like patience, and God has got you through everything, so don't doubt him now. And it has definitely got me a long way from where I was.
I think that being a Christian has really worked to my advantage because I've been bombarded with opinions of all different people, and it's hard to know what to believe and what to think. But really, there's only like one truth that matters, and that's in the Bible. And it's really good to like go back there and see that we gotta love everyone, and it's just really nice to have that foundation.
And even knowing like the struggles that the Black community has been through, knowing that God doesn't leave you has really helped a lot too.
I personally didn't come from a religious background, but when I kind of look, so I go on Snapchat and I kind of look at things a different way, where my more Christian friends, I would say, like I'm Christian, but they more devoted than I would probably, just because their family put them into that, you know, truth and taught them that. I really didn't come from that, but when it comes down to like talking to people like that, they kind of point me to what Jesus says and how the Bible really is the one thing that I should read every day and understand that this is what Jesus said in the Bible. This is what's supposed to happen, where it's kind of unfolding in my eyes, where it's like, we all one, but yet somehow we want to think that we're not. And one girl kind of pointed out to me how we all are Jesus' children, and that's one thing where when we say things into disputes, or just when it comes to that, we have to realize like we don't have the same view, but we are in the same view of God's eyes, where we are just one. And in the end, we either go to heaven or go to hell, but in the end, we are just like Jesus' children. And that really opened my eyes a little bit, because I kind of just looked at it like, girl, like, no, like, but it's like, wait, we all are God's children. It just made me kind of, what Kayla's kind of saying, like, bite my tongue, because I know that I can get there, but I was like, and I just started praying more, actually having the time to actually sit down and pray to God and just realize, like, he's going to be there no matter who else leaves in my life or whatever.
We're so thankful for the opportunity for you students to come here and to talk and to share your thoughts and to speak from your heart. I just look at you guys and smile, because I was here 20-some years ago, and I would not be the person that I am today if I didn't have the experiences of this high school and the diverse friend group that I had. And I know Mr. Whiteside could probably say the same. I won't speak for you, so I'll let you speak about your experiences here.
Yeah, some of the things you brought up, or they continuously bring up, was like getting out of your comfort zone. And that's something that at times we take for granted, because God does put us in different positions and helps us grow as individuals, and everything is about growth and understanding your purpose and focus on Him. So when you say that, it shines a light on how God can work through people, and it doesn't matter the age, because you are true testament to that. And it's just a blessing to see you, because in a way, you inspire me to check myself and to constantly self-evaluate myself as well.
There's so many things that go on in this high school on a daily basis, but the blessing that we can be a family of believers, one and united in Christ, and yet at the same time show compassion and love for each other and specific groups and people that are hurting, is just such a wonderful and amazing blessing. Our prayer is that through this video and other videos, that people out there can have an example of what it looks like to love each other and to listen and to learn. This is not a perfect school. There's sin here and there's sin everywhere. But we really are proud of and so thankful for the opportunity that we can have people come together and love and listen and learn and help. And so our prayer is that if this video can do that for others out there in the world, then we are all the more thankful and blessed. God be with you all.